You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, I wanted to talk about Jerod Mayo and more specifically this report that's come out by way of Tom E. Kernan. And people forget, Tom E. Kernan last year broke the news that Belichick was going to be a goner, right? And so, if you don't listen to Patriots talk, if you don't really tune in and listen, Kernan will tell you some things, I believe, that come straight from the Krafts. I might be wrong. Maybe I am wrong. But I think there's something there. And I think Jerod Mayo was absolutely coming back before this last weekend. And after this last weekend, he threw Alex Van Pelt under the bus. And look, I am not a big fan of the idea of getting rid of Alex Van Pelt for one reason and one reason only, his development of Drake May. Drake May is a franchise quarterback. Now, I've seen a couple of things. Well, the Patriots are an undesirable team to coach for. Well, they are and they're not, all right? Once you got a guy that you know looks like a franchise quarterback, it becomes a much more desirable job. Now, that's where it starts and stops. I mean, you've got Christian Gonzalez, yeah. And are there pieces? Sure. Ramondre Stevenson, okay, nice piece, I guess, but you could go somewhere else at running back. But the point is, you got the quarterback, but will the Krafts actually spend money? That's the other thing that nobody's talking about with the T. Higgins and all this stuff at wide receiver. Are they actually going to spend money? You know, that's something to think about. Now, so this report came out this morning, and I find this very interesting indeed. Let me just switch over here. Man, Savage obviously took a shot at me yesterday and my DEI Jerod Mayo videos. I don't care. When you hire a coach, you don't interview anybody else, and your coach goes into race during the opening press conference. I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers that disaster. And your and your owner hires him because he's got the warm and fuzzies over him. I mean, it's like the shining example of a DEI hire. The guy was not experienced enough to be a head coach. Look at this. I mean, inside linebackers coach and linebackers coach does not make a head coach. Vrabel, are you kidding me? At Jerod Mayo's age, was a defensive line coach for Ohio State. I mean, look how many more years. Linebackers coach, linebackers coach, linebackers coach, defensive coordinator, Texans, finally a head coach. 1, 2, 3, 4. And don't get me wrong, maybe Jerod Mayo will make a good head coach one day, but I'm going to be honest with you, he acts like he's in way over his head. Plain and simple, okay? Does he come across as professional? Because he doesn't to me at all. So Tom E. Kernan, this came out, report, Mike Vrabel would be interested in being the new head coach for the New England Patriots. Now, look, I said last year when I was making videos, when the job came open, I said, you've got to interview. You've got to go through an interview process. I don't care if you did promise the job to Mayo 5 years ago. If you don't interview and entertain the most qualified people for your job opening, then your job opening and your hiring is a joke. All right? And Mayo, obviously, having all the success with the Titans and the connection to the Patriots made him a natural fit. But look, you can throw Jim Harbaugh into that. All right? You can throw anybody else into that. I mean, Raheem, whoever you want to talk about, anybody. All right? Anybody that was available to be a head coach in the coaching cycle should have got an interview. Ben Johnson should have been interviewed. Regardless of what you promised Mayo. It's ridiculous. But, look, I think Mike Vrabel is the guy for this job. That said, they're not going to be able to just sit around. I did a video on this a couple of weeks ago. They're not going to be able to just sit around on Mike Vrabel because the Raiders probably will want him. Tom Brady wants him on the Raiders as their coach. All right. Ohio State. Dan Orlovsky broke the news on Pat McAfee yesterday that Mike Vrabel, there is some entity out there that already has Vrabel circled right now as their next coach. He wouldn't say he leaned like it was college. Well, if it's college, it's Ohio State. Because outside of winning a national title, Ryan Day's probably screwed. So the Patriots, the Raiders, Ohio State, there's going to be three entities right there bidding for Vrabel. Well, the Jets, any team should interview him. All right? So it's going to be interesting. You know, I mean, a lot of response here, a lot of people talking. What about Ben Johnson? I think the Chicago thing, a lot of people are putting Vrabel and Josh McDaniels together, and yes, I get that. But there are other options. Number one, I'm going to show you something here with Vrabel. He's working for the Cleveland Browns right now as a consultant. Okay? Behind the scenes, he's working with this guy, Kevin Stefanski. By the way, Stefanski won Coach of the Year last year. I think he's going to be available as a head coach because the Browns are the Browns, and they're going to fire him. I don't know. Who the hell are you going to hire that's better than Stefanski? I don't know. But there's a world where you could bring in Kevin Stefanski as your offensive coordinator and Alex Van Pelt, who worked for Stefanski, and that was the staff he was on. Albert Breer said last year that the Browns, the actual staff, the coaching staff, did not want to get rid of Alex Van Pelt. Stefanski didn't want to get rid of Alex Van Pelt. Jimmy Haslam, the clown owner, wanted Van Pelt gone because this was part of, and this is what's going to get Stefanski fired. Deshaun Watson is going to get Stefanski fired. And you know, Jimmy Haslam refusing to come off a disastrous trade-in sign is costing people jobs. That's why Alex Van Pelt was available to begin with. All right, so just keep that in mind. But you've got a world there where you've got connective tissue now with Stefanski, who's got connective tissue with Alex Van Pelt. I mean, Van Pelt might agree to be the offensive coordinator, quarterback's coach under Stefanski. Maybe Stefanski's brought in as an OC, or maybe he's named passing coordinator and assistant head coach. You got you a pretty good staff there. Vrabel, Stefanski, Van Pelt. Now you're talking about something, you know? And Stefanski's had multiple years of success with the Browns of all franchises. I mean, he's one of the best coaches the Browns have ever had, and I understand that's not saying a lot, but you get my point, right? Their biggest mistake was their clown owner wanting to move off Baker, and that was their big issue. Albert Breer came out the other day, and of course, you had Jerod Mayo. Look, the buck stops with him, but you know he threw Van Pelt under the bus.
Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but that felt like he was throwing Alex Van Pelt under the bus.
Yeah, that's the only reason you're comparing it to that. Was this a bad? So what do you think of the comment that was made?
I just think that's a really hard thing to come back from because the players see that, they see the lack of accountability, the other coaches see that, and so let's say you come out of this year and you're not happy with how things are, but you're going to keep Jerod Mayo and you're going to change some of the staff. How are you going to get coaches here then? Because they're all going to think that Jerod Mayo is in the hot seat in 2025, and now you have this.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there, but it's absolutely right. Who the hell's taking those coordinator jobs after I saw the coach throw Van Pelt under the bus when, look, the buck stops with you, dude. If you want Van Pelt to get aggressive on that drive, you're the coach. You need to tell him. You know, you need to open your mouth and tell him, hey, look, let's do some dual threat here. We got an athletic quarterback. The other guy out there is, besides McDaniels, would be Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll and Mike Vrabel together. That's obviously upgrades, right, to the situation they're in. And that's the thing. Your ownership owes it to the fan base to make upgrades when available. plain and simple, okay? So I just think the Vrabel thing is a natural fit. But even at that, you have to interview some other candidates. Do a real search. If that's your guy, then behind the scenes, you can have it ready to go and ready to happen. But yeah, you should still look around, and that was my problem with the Mayo hire. You just slid him right in there, unqualified, and because he gave you the warm and fuzzies. Well, because he gave you the warm and fuzzies and he did all this virtue signaling at his press conference does not make him qualified to be a head coach in the NFL. It just doesn't. In fact, nobody cares about that. Word has it, when all these offensive coordinator candidates that came through, a bunch of them took themselves out of the running because they didn't think people were concerned about football. Think about that a minute. Weren't concerned enough about actual football. That's a major red flag. Then where is your organization at from a head standpoint? All right, Robin Glazer, she's done firebombed the organization behind the scenes. It seems like you got people that aren't concerned about winning football games. And now maybe Robert Kraft understands that after what we saw publicly during the game the other day, but I'm not quite sure about that, frankly. I'd have to see real change. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Is Vrabel a done deal? A lot of Pats fans want it to happen. I think it's a damn good choice, but I think you do still go through the process. I think you take a hard look at Elliott Wolf. John Robinson is available and could go with Mike Vrabel. It's a natural, easy fit. He was involved in getting A.J. Brown at one time. By the way, A.J. Brown's a huge Patriots fan. Was growing up and has said before, I'd like to play for the Patriots. Well, that's a wide receiver option right there, even for like a year or two. Interesting. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.